Good afternoon. I'm Spencer Highsmith, Young Farmer Advisor for Gulf County. Today we're going to be going over utilizing drip irrigation, the components, how to install it in a backyard setting or even a production setting. So over here what we got around us is we just established our blueberry plot, so we're trying to get our water run to these blueberries to ensure their survivability. So when we're talking about drip irrigation, people need to know some of the benefits, some of the drawbacks. The benefits is you're applying water directly where that plant needs it, right at the root zone. So unlike overhead irrigation where you're watering a whole lot of wasted space, this drip irrigation utilizes it in a productive manner right where the roots need it, right in the root zone. So this is what we call drip tape. About every 12 inches, there's a little orifice. This is what allows the water to flow through and it basically supplies that steady supply, steady flow of water to conserve that aspect. So whenever we're talking about hooking it up to our water source, so you're going to need some type of inline filter. This allows it to collect any type of sediment so it does not clog up these pores, because we are talking about very, very small pores on this drip tape. You'll need some type of pressure regulator. This one is a 10 psi pressure regulator. When we're talking about a well setting, most of those pressures are anywhere, especially in the backyard, are anywhere from about 45 to 65 psi. What'll end up happening is that type of pressure over these lines will actually cause these lines to blow out and cause problems. So this pressure regulator here regulates the flow, regulates that pressure to ensure uniform application. And then you'll need some type of tubing adapter that allow the tubing or that distribution tubing to enter the main lines. So what we're going to be using today is a 3/4 inch distribution tubing. For our application, no bigger than a project we're going to be doing, this is going to give us all the water supply that we need. This is actually overkill. We could probably get by with 1/2 inch. So once we get our distribution tubing run, you have a couple pieces that you need to know. So you have some elbows, you have T's. All these simply do is connect directly to this tubing and allows you to supply that water right where that plant needs it. So you slide it over, twist that lock, and then it's locked into place. It's going to take a lot more force than just 10 psi to cause that line to blow out. So once you get this tubing run, that's whenever you got to start installing your drip tape. What I like to do is I'll use this blue line as my marking tool. That's where I'm going to punch my hole. So I have a little punch tool, and then I have a drip tape adapter. This one you can get some with cutoff valves or without. I like the cutoff valves because early on in the season I don't want to put as much water out as I do later on during the hot dog days of summer. So I can come by, I can only turn on one row of drip tape, or I can turn on both rows, however I want to do it. Basically, it's something to help meet the water demands of your plants. So what you want to do is you want to identify where you're going to poke this hole at, where you want that drip tape run. Once you do that, simply push in, and then you'll hear a little popping noise. That popping noise means that it's poked through. And you can see there's a little hole right there. That allows this drip tape adapter to simply be pushed and inserted in, and it locks into place. From there, we'll take our drip tape, bow it out like that, make sure this collar is twisted all the way back. Simply slide it on, just like so. Then take our collar and tighten it up. Once you get it installed, once you get it on that collar and that slid up, do you a pull test. Make sure you're not going to be able to pull it off. That'll ensure that at that 10 psi or that 10 pounds of pressure, you're not going to blow this line off, because yeah, this drip tape applies water right directly where the plants need it, but if it blows out, you're going to have a flooded area pretty quick, even though it is only 10 psi. So we're going to go over a couple things, do a live demonstration of how we're installing it. Alright, so what we're doing now is hooking directly up to our water source. One thing about it that I failed to mention earlier is whenever you're installing this, especially if you're going to be running some type of fertilizer or chemicals or whatever it may be through this line, you definitely want to put you some type of backflow preventer on this. So what that does is once you get through running that irrigation, that backflow preventer will basically allow that water to seep out around the orifice and keep from contaminating your water source. So a backflow preventer is something I'd highly recommend. utilizing, especially if you're going to be running fertilizer or anything like that through your irrigation lines. Right now, all we're doing is supplying water. We're going to put out granular fertilizer, so I'm not that worried about that. One other thing that I definitely recommend doing is making sure that you put some type of thread tape on this, because what will happen is you got plastic on plastic. Even though it seems tight, water can seep out around it. That thread tape just helps seal it up. So I'll just take it, simply screw it onto my water source. In this case, it's a spigot. And then I'm gonna start laying out my distribution tubing. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna end up burying this stuff. So a good tool that I like to have in my toolbox is a pair of PVC pipe cutters. What it allows me to do is quickly and simply and safely cut this off. So I'm gonna come down to about right there. So I'm gonna eyeball it, take it, snip. Then I'm gonna come in with my 3/4 elbow. And elbows are not necessarily required. I like to use them because to me it just basically prohibits or inhibits that water restriction in case that pipe gets kinked. So it minimizes that aspect. That way I can hook on to my next line directly on there and pull it straight on out. Do the same thing on this one, slide it up over that collar. Tighten it down. And then we got her ready to roll. So we've got our distribution tubing run. Now what we're going to be doing is installing all the drip tape. So you can see we got 2 pieces of drip tape running down each side of the row. And that goes back to these little drip tape connectors. Like I said, start off the season with, I'll have one of these wide open, allowing that water to flow. As it gets hotter, as these bushes get bigger, I can turn on that other one. This goes ahead and eliminates that problem from the get-go, so I don't have to come back in here during the dead of summer and come back in. So I'll go ahead and poke my hole in there. Attach it in, grab my drip tape. It's not required, but you'll notice on some of your drip tapes, you can clearly see a white line right down the top. That's just to signify that's where that water is going to be coming from. So there's little orifices every 12 inches on this. So I like to have it up. That way, if I'm doing a drive-by check, I can see water starting to come out of these orifices. If it's flipped down like that, I have to lift up that tape. I have to get off the Kubota, the buggy, whatever I'm on, and really inspect that to make sure water's getting distributed. So this allows me to just simply ride by and I can see the water droplets starting to come out. So once I do that, just slide it on. Like we talked about earlier, make sure that collar's pushed back, slide it on, tighten it up, then do my tension pull test, make sure it's on good. Do the same thing on the next one on the other side of the row. Simply push and plug it in. Grab my tape. One thing you'll notice on this one, it's sort of cut at an angle. That can be problematic whenever you're putting this on. So if it's cut at an angle, you're not going to get that solid seal. So if that's the case, what I would do is I'd simply fold it in half at that 90-degree angle. Take my cutter and I'd cut it direct, just cut it off and start fresh again. The other thing that you want to minimize is really inspect that tape to make sure that you're not putting the orifice where the water's going to be coming out right over that. That can be problematic, cause you a hard time, and allow that tape to slip off. So just be mindful of that whenever you're doing it. Again, just simply slide it on, twist that collar, do a pull test, you're good. So we're at the other end of our line or our row. You can buy, what we're going to be showing you now is how a simple, easy way to tie off your tubing. So you can buy these fancy plug-in or end caps like this, but a cheaper, easier way, because you're looking at about $2 a piece on these. So if you can figure out a cheaper, easier way to do it, by all means, go for it. So once you get down to your end, simply cut it. Go ahead and cut you a piece about maybe 3-4 inches long. It ain't gonna be that long. Take your tape, fold it over a time or two, just like that, get a good crimp in it. Take it, fold it in half just like so. open up the piece that you just cut and slide it on. All you're trying to do is cause that water to dead end at this point. And this is a simple, easy way to do it. Whenever you want to drain out these lines to allow any sediment or what have you, all you simply got to do is slide it off, turn your water on, it's going to push off. Super easy way, reasonably priced, or super cheap. So just an option that you can put in your toolbox to make your life simple when using lines and drip tape. All right, so the way you want to close off your distribution tube, and this is called a figure 8, simply slide it over one end just like this, bend it over, slide this figure 8 back, slide it back on. Simple as that. Super easy to set up drip irrigation in any setting that you want to use. Thank you.